3 rings, 12 years in the NFL, third most receiving yards in the history of NFL playoff football. Julian Edelman. What a pleasure every couple of weeks we get you to stop by. You know, I was thinking about something with Mac Jones the other day. So when I went from the other place, ESPN to Fox, one of the reasons it was easy is because I knew people here, right? Like I was going East Coast to West Coast. I knew Howie Long. I knew a couple of the producers, and I'm like, okay, this is fine. But New England's very interesting. Their coaching staff is now Bill's kids, players that played for Bill, and some older dudes, you know, the Joe Judge, Patricia, Bill's guys. So you're Mac Jones, you walk into this. Alabama, this is not only NFL, it is an insular environment. And I could see Mac, you know, best players at Alabama, going up there, and it does feel like it's gotten worse every year. And my takeaway in this is I think Mac is not athletic enough to overcome average wide receiver tight end talent. I think it was better at Bama. But I want you to talk a little bit about this, is that, I mean, even for you and Brady, it's a rough staff. It's not an easy culture. It's demanding as hell. I mean, Tom probably doesn't play until Bledsoe gets hurt. You, one of the great receivers ever in playoff history, it was like year 3.
4.
5. So is there part of it that you think, you know, if the kid went to a little looser culture, more offensive leaning, it'd be a little easier?
Well, what about the example of, you know, you go to somewhere like San Diego for Justin Herbert, who didn't have an offensive line, who had a defensive coach in Anthony Lynn and didn't have the talent around him and was forced in the day before the game or hours before the game to go in and play, and he played. You know, if you're a guy, okay? And I'm not going to come out here and just bash on Mac. Yeah, it's been terrible for the whole unit. You know, one play, it's the offensive line. One play, the receiver slips. One play, a receiver drops the ball. There's a bad throw. And collectively, they're not doing well. But this is National Football League. If you don't win, the quarterback and the head coach get the blame. When you do win, the quarterback and the head coach get the blame. So, you know, this is a production business, okay? And everyone keeps on wanting to say, oh, he's had 3 offensive coordinators. He's had the...
So is Lamar Jackson.
So is Lamar Jackson. And he's really only had 2 offensive coordinators. I had Billy O'Brien and Josh McDaniels, and that's the same scheme. That's the same. There's a couple wrinkles here and there, but you're fundamentally doing the same things. It's just been tough for Mac to execute in the high-pressure situations, and it comes down to his confidence. He's lost his confidence. And once you lose your confidence in this league, it's tough. I mean, I remember there's a couple times where you drop a ball or something here or there, and you start thinking about it the next play.
Right.
Easy play. Oh, this is going to be easy. And when you're thinking about things, it's not allowing you to play fast. It's not allowing your subconscious to kick in and instincts to play the game for you. And that's what it's been right now. He's just lost his confidence. It sucks for him, but, you know, that's what's happened.
Yeah. So I was thinking about a friend of mine went to dinner with Tom Brady the other day.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, Edelman and Brady, they need a year to go have fun, hang out with their kids. But I said, you know, Brady's too aspirational. He's not going to sit around on the couch. He wants to get to work. And I thought about you because I'm like, you kind of disappear for a year. And I'm like, no, that guy, people have asked me about you. And I'm like, he's going too fast upstairs. You can't, this guy's not a couch guy. Mm-hmm. And do you think Tom is reaching that point of, I got to do something? Or do you think he's wildly busy every day and traveling the globe? Where's Tom at now?
I think he's somewhere in between. I think his mind's always going. He's a very motivated guy.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of ventures in his life that he's attacking right now, and he's spending time with his family and doing things that he's never probably done with them this time of the year. But naturally, you have a body clock, and my body clock still goes off in the off season in April, where you're sitting there and you're like, we have a month until we're supposed to be ready. That just happens, especially when you're an athlete, you're a creature of habit.
Right.
And I did it for 12 years. He did it for 22 years. So I can only imagine what he's feeling right now when his body's feeling good. He's not loading his body. He's not getting hit. He's probably out there throwing the ball a little bit with Alex while he's rubbing his arm down still. Like, he definitely is probably a little anxious, but there's no way he's coming back. And he's definitely a guy that's working on a whole bunch of things.
So tonight we have one of those standalone Thursday games.
Yeah.
When the Thursday game started, the media was like, this is unfair. And then I called a couple coaches, and I said, what do you make of it? And they said, well, you don't hit that week. Mm-hmm. You've already done the prep in the offseason. Mm-hmm. So some players look at it, veteran guys look at it like, I might wake up a little sore Thursday, but it's almost like a second bye.
Yep.
Is that how you looked at it?
Yeah, you just had to get through it. When you knew you had a Thursday night game, there wasn't going to be any physical practice. Everything was walked through. It was a very mental week, which kind of resembles like a bye week. So, you have to get through it. And it does suck, especially the older you get, because, you need those days to get your body right. But, as long as you get through it, and it didn't matter what kind of game you played, as long as you got away with a win, that's all that mattered, because then you had a 3-day break. You had another, baby bye week. So, yeah, I fully agree with that. You can take it as like a baby bye. That's what we used to call it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I watch CJ Stroud's been terrific.
He has.
Like, wow. And I ask all guys this. Quarterback's different because, as you know, you played it in college. It's not only cerebral, because all positions, there's memorization of plays and choreography, but there is a, beyond cognitive, there is a confidence aspect. There's a, do you see the field? Can you take the hard coaching? It's the windows shrink. I mean, by the way, college or pro, there are certain things you probably did at both levels that you knew your body could do or not do. Then all of a sudden you go to the NFL, it's like, well, people aren't open. They ask you to throw people open. Mm-hmm. Well, that was a terrible throw in college and high school. You don't throw into coverage. Are you surprised when you watch CJ Stroud? Do you look at that? Even Tommy needed a year to figure it out. Burrow, most guys need a year. Are you surprised by, and he doesn't have great personnel. Tank Dell's a nice player, obviously. But do you look at that, and how is he doing it? What sticks to you on a guy like CJ Stroud?
I want to apologize to CJ Stroud, because as soon as he got drafted, I'm sitting there looking like, another Ohio State quarterback. We already seen this a few times.
Right.
Because when you play at a school like that, you have the best players.
By far.
So it's hard to evaluate that position when you have, the best receiver in the country going against, Louisiana Lafayette of the tech industry a couple weeks of the year. So, it was very surprising to me, but they've done a good job of keeping things simple. They've done a good job of play caller to quarterback relationship where it seems like he always knows where to go with the football.
That's right.
It seems like his first read to his second read is there or there, and then that's it. He very rarely has to get to his third read. So I think it's a product of everyone in that organization. Nick Caserio doing a really good job of getting guys over there, finding that, that CJ Stroud. We all, at the beginning of this thing, we're like Bryce Young's, everyone was talking about Bryce Young's boy genius.
Yeah.
He's like Steph Curry on the football field. And you didn't hear much about CJ Stroud. Everyone talked about that test score. Well, he looks really good. And it's hard to sit back and find a reason why. They just have a good relationship between that offensive play caller and CJ right now. So that's a huge advantage when that relationship is thriving. Like when those guys can finish each other's sentences, that's when you start to see the Brock Purdy's, the Dak Prescott's in his early career. Remember when he first came out? That's what this reminds me of. It reminds me of Dak Prescott. I remember sitting back with Tom when Dak was balling, what was it, in 15 or something, whatever he came out. And we're sitting there like, what's this guy doing? And it's a product of finding that formula, and they have found that formula, and hopefully they continue to keep on working that, because early success is great, but early success creates expectations.
Right.
So, there's going to be bumps in this road. It's still early. I mean, look at Brock Purdy the last 3 weeks. You know, his first 11 games, the guy's undefeated or whatever, and then, you know, they miss a couple guys, they go 3 down, and everyone's talking about how he's not the guy anymore. So, you know, I'm interested to see CJ Stroud after that bit of adversity kicks in when, you know, this later part of the season comes, because the ball is going to get a lot harder now.
Now, this is a weird question, but Taylor Swift is great. Travis Kelce's great.
Yeah.
But you were also good-looking guy, dated very, you know, in your career. You had, you know, I don't want to get into your personal stuff, but I read People magazine, you know, good-looking guy, and you had, and I always think about this. The two things the media never understands about pro athletes, they get traded. If somebody traded me, I'd be like, do I stink? My self-esteem. Well, I'm only worth like a backup producer and a copy editor. Like, I would be beaten if you traded me. I think we got to give players that get traded a little love, but that's not easy. The second thing is, you hear about the football season. You guys are all beat up. You get very little time off. You get one bye. I mean, you're constantly practices film. And I look at Travis Kelce. I'm like, he's in Argentina. And I'm like,
was he in Argentina?
Taylor Swift. And I'm like, I saw some pictures, and I'm like, when you're a star and you date a star and the media talks about it, how do you compartmentalize it? Are you like hiding from the paparazzi? How does it work?
You know, the people that I dated and when I was playing, they were always very respective of our schedule and understood that during football season, you know, I wasn't going to go to Argentina. I couldn't meet you. Can't meet you in Paris for lunch. I'm sorry.
Right.
You know, but you know, he's got that compartmentalization skill where if he's out there doing what he's doing, if he goes out and he's performing, everything's okay. But I tell you right now, you know, the first game you go out after coming back from Argentina, your eyes are a little droopy at the media.
Drop a ball.
You drop a ball. I never wanted to put myself in that situation. So like that's a tough thing to balance. You know, personal life with football life.
Okay, so
I was a very selfish boyfriend. I apologize to all my, the girls that I dated throughout my career.
Well,
but like I had one thing on my mind, and that was football. You know, and I wasn't good enough. Like Travis is good enough where he could go out and do all that. So I couldn't do that. I had to be in a mindset, and they had to understand that.
No, I mean, seriously.
That's tough.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I ask it seriously. Is that and Andy Reid and Belichick are demanding high IQ, intellectual coaches. Yeah. So it's harder than just this is not your typical culture. Like Kansas City they move off people. By the way, they've rebuilt their O-line, their defense, their receiving core. This is an evolving, and Andy's one of the most creative coaches. You could come in on Tuesday and get a game plan that's a lot.
Yeah.
Were you even with family members? Your mom, dad called. Was it like, hey,
No.
I can't talk now?
My parents and my family understood the sacrifices that, you know, I made to try to play at the highest level that I could play at. I mean, Super Bowl week, you know, I was fortunate enough to go to a bunch of Super Bowls. Right. I wouldn't see my family. I would see my family on Friday. I'd take them out to dinner, and I'd be out of there by 8:30 because I was in my routine. I had to keep my routine to keep my confidence going, to keep my play up. And, you know, guys are different. There's some guys that can go out, you know, and be the LTs of the world and go out the night before the game and come have 6 sacks. And, you know, there's guys that, you know, didn't do anything. So it depends on the guy you are. As long as your play's there, it doesn't matter. You know, Andy Reid, just like Belichick had a way of coaching guys. There were certain guys that I won't say, but they had it like they could do certain things because they were playing at a high level.
Gronk.
But as Gronk, yes. Gronk, Hernandez back in the day. I know we're not supposed to talk about that, but there was, you know, if you were a baller and you had certain things you had to do, he would allow that. But as soon as your play slipped a little, he would remind you. And I'm sure Andy Reid would say do the same thing.
Yeah. We're in Thanksgiving. This is real football.
This is when it starts. This is when the real football season starts.
Did you is this the time of the year? Because Kent State, tough guy. You're a tough guy. Did you always think to yourself, all right, this is the difference between the haves and have-nots?
Yeah, this is cream season. This is when the cream rises to the top. This is when guys are going on their playoff pushes or guys are planning their golf trips. And I was never one of those guys planning golf trips. This is where you got your second wind because you just came off a bye. You're hitting November. Coaches are bringing up the intensity in the building because this is when you need to start playing your best football. And everyone knew that. We had a good group of guys that knew that. Just like in 18 when we went out to the Steelers and we lost on the road in Three Rivers in November. It was like we had State of the Unions after that. Like guys are sitting there like, guys, we can't do this. We just lost back-to-back games in November. What are we doing? We got to get on it and got to get on the horse now. So, yeah, this is the cream season. If you want to make a run, you got to start playing your football now.
And you hurt now. Nobody's healthy now, right?
No one's healthy. But it's funny because early on the season, you have your excitement because the season starts the first 3-4 weeks. There's that middle pack of the season, which is like the real grind, that 6 to 10, where, you get a banged up ankle, you tear a rib, your shoulder's separated, and it starts, and you have to do things each week to try to make that feel better. It's kind of like NASCAR. How's your car running this week? My car is running all right. It's running all right. But by the time, you had that sprained ankle for about 6 weeks, things are starting to feel good. You're starting to get your football legs. Your body's starting to come around. We always were timed with a good bye in the middle of the season where we could take that. And then that's when your body you get like a second wind, and guys, you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And if you didn't, you usually weren't on our team because we had a good group of guys, like I said. So this is the time of year where, your body's starting to, it hurts, but like you're starting to ignore that pain just a little bit more because you're starting to see where you're trying to get. You're starting to see things shape up. You're starting to see the seedings. Are you going to get that bye? Are you not going to get that bye? How bad do you want that bye to get a little extra healthier going into the season or the postseason? So this is the most crucial part of the season. Now, every game's important. Every game in the NFL is important, but nothing's more important than playing your best football right now.
Did
after Thanksgiving, we still have
all
one
the
more
teams
week.
you were on, was there? You talked about something last time, and it stuck with me. You said that every team has a new identity. Mm-hmm. I remember talking to a baseball player, Jimmy Rollins, once of the Phillies years ago. I did a commercial with him. This was like 15 years ago, and he said, "Man, one idiot ruins a whole locker room." And I'm like, "How? The pitchers are down." He goes, "It's a small locker room." He goes, "In Philadelphia, I think he said in Philadelphia, our walls curve so you can see everybody." Mm-hmm. One jerk, and he mentioned the guy. He goes, "Ruins the whole locker room." In all your years in New England, did you ever have if I said to you, what was the best locker room? Was there a year it was like you would have jumped in front of a train for every guy? Was there a best room?
That 16 team. I mean, all the Super Bowl teams that we won were all great locker rooms, and the ones that we didn't, where we had really good seasons, we had great locker rooms. It's just we didn't stay healthy. There was only 1 year of my career, and that was 2009, where there were some a-holes on the team.
Yeah,
and that was the only time, and that was kind of like we were getting out of that 2007 kind of span of team. We were getting rid of guys. There were a couple guys there that had bad attitudes, that were kind of
wanted more money than they probably
had a lot of money and acted like they had a lot of money. Let's just put it that way. And they were gone the next year, and that's when we started over. And that's when, a new crop of guys came up, and that's when the new nucleus came, and then that's when we started, building that nucleus. Because you need to have a nucleus of guys where the 53rd guy on the 53rd guy on the team sees the number 1 guy working hard. If he sees the number 6 guy working hard and he's not working hard, he's not going to make it. So you need to have that nucleus, because when your leaders work the hardest on your team, it makes everyone else have to work hard. When you have a Tom Brady, guy who won 5 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowls when I got there, and he's still working the way he was working, practicing the way he was practicing, or the Teddy Bruschies or the Kevin Falks, that's what makes a team go. That's what makes the other guys fall in line.
You know, Brewski played Desert Storm in Arizona.
Yeah.
Almost nobody recruited him. And I remember when I worked with him at ESPN, he would come in with a briefcase. And I remember telling people, that guy's going to work here.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be very good at ESPN. He came with a briefcase every day. I was like, that's not what guys do.
Brew.
And what was funny about Brewski is if Teddy Brewski is why the NFL's great. If you didn't know what Teddy Brewski did and you looked at him, because he all you guys shed weight, when you would have been like, oh, he's a pretty fit accountant. Hair, glasses, briefcase. I mean, bigger than guys.
Yeah.
Brewski, to me, is, in my lifetime of watching the NFL, defensive players, is almost hard to explain. Unblockable. I mean, if you looked at him, when I first saw him, I'm like, that's the guy nobody can block?
People don't realize he was defensive tackle in college.
Unblockable in the Pac-12. Unblockable.
And then he goes to be a stand-up linebacker, middle linebacker, versatile.
Was he that athletic?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got him at the tail end. Like, you know.
You could beat him on a move.
No, I mean, I could beat him on a. We lined up once together. It was like OTA practice.
Uh-oh, what happened?
And we were practicing our stab drill running down the field. And I was lined up with Brew, and I start stabbing Brew. And after the rep, he looks at me and he says, "Hey, Rook, you ever touch me again, I'm going to cut your arm off." And so I got partnered up with him the next time. And so the next time, you know, Scotty O'Brien, our special teams coordinator, is watching because, you know, I was trying to make the team. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm stabbing the air behind him. And Brew's just like, "Yeah, good job, Rook." And, you know, that was Brew. You know, you don't mess with the Bucks.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.